I want to ask you about the trade war. Donald Trump was pressed about his tariffs on China in a sit-down interview with ABC News, where he was asked about the cost of products skyrocketing. The president insisted that China deserves the 145% tariff on China. Here he is.
145% tariffs on China, and that is basically an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China is going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off.
Now, China's economy has shown its first signs of economic damage from the trade war as the country's manufacturing activity contracted the most since 2023, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. And China has also released a fiery propaganda video declaring that it will never kneel down to US pressure. Joe, where is the tariffs policy headed?
Well, I'm afraid it's not going to solve a lot of problems. I mean, this will require an intervention at the highest levels by President Xi and President Trump to settle this. Look, Gabriella, tariff wars have a very bad history. 1930s, they were tried to, at the insistence of agriculture in America, to improve American farmers' markets and the like, and none of that happened. It was just the reverse. I mean, tariffs are policy that has been tried and found wanting. Trump brought it up again because people don't know much about it, and it might have some short-term effects. But in terms of long-term, Chinese aren't going to, they're not going to eat the tariff and play by the rules. I mean, the Chinese Communist Party is playing for its life. Donald Trump is playing for the next 3 years. So do the math.
The odds of a US recession have increased since Trump came to power, and overnight the latest economic growth figures from America bear that out. Recent GDP figures indicate that the US economy has contracted for the first time in 3 years, and Donald Trump has attributed the economic downturn to his predecessor, Joe Biden, suggesting that the market's poor performance is a reflection of the economic conditions he inherited. Is that fair?
No, not really. You know, Gabriella, when I worked at Merrill Lynch back in the day, there were three things you had to pay attention to: buy, sell, or hold. And after Trump's first 100 days and his various policies, a lot of investors are very nervous. Consumer confidence has caved in. People are expecting the worst. There are signs of a recession. I think a good stockbroker or hedge fund manager would tell people to sell. I mean, it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. And so Trump is going to have to reverse this. Now, I understand that he's announcing major tax policies, which may be able to help him at the last minute because he's trying to balance the act between what Americans have to pay more and what more they can take home in their pay packets. So that would be good news.
Let's talk about those tax cuts. Donald Trump has said that some people's income taxes will be lowered or even completely eliminated due to tariffs, insisting that the focus will be on people making less than $200,000 a year. He says the number of jobs being created will be a bonanza for America. And last night, Donald Trump renewed his call for Congress to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill and once again deliver the largest tax cuts in history to the American people. Here he is.
In the coming weeks and months, we will pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and that will include no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's called the One Big Beautiful Bill, and it will be the biggest bill ever passed in our country's history. It will include the biggest tax cuts, regulation cuts, military supremacy, and just about everything else. We will cut more than $1 trillion in wasteful and unnecessary spending. And in the next fiscal year, it'll all be done. We're going to have something that you won't even believe. We will end inflation, slash prices. We've already ended inflation, raise wages, and give you the greatest economy in the history of the world. That's already happening.
And today, Donald Trump announced plans to offer additional tax cuts to American businesses if they make their products in America.
We cut your taxes from almost 40% down to 21%. Now we're bringing your taxes down from 21% to 15% if you build your product, make your product in the USA. So if you make it in the USA, those chips, those beautiful chips, will make those suckers in the USA, and you're going to be all the way down to 15%. And I think there's never been anything like it. So now we're at the lowest scale for a large country, by far the lowest scale.
That's a pretty significant incentive.
Yes, it is. But, you know, manufacturing only accounts for 9% of the American economy. The rest are services, tourism, and students. So, you know, it only helps a certain part. Look, Joe Biden was going to pay for everything by soaking people who made over $400,000. Trump says he's going to try to give relief to people earning less than $200,000. I like the idea of eliminating the tax on overtime and on tips and the like, because Gabriella, one of America's great shames is the minimum wage. It's federal minimum wage is $7.25. When I was a kid a long time ago, it was $1.25. So a lot of people working for peanuts, so they count on those tips and the like. And also, it's big news for all these millions of Americans who are into Social Security, their pension program. There's going to no longer be a tax on Social Security. So he's offering at the other end a lot of very positive things, and I'm glad he's doing this. I mean, Trump is now being a businessman. He's offering people at the one end a great deal of relief, and he's offering incentives at the other end. Now, if someone wanted to manufacture something in America instead of Costa Rica tomorrow, it'd take them about 9 years to get it up. You know, keep in mind, it takes 12 years to grow an olive. I mean, it's not something you can do overnight. So he might be overselling that. But look, I think the tax relief that he's providing, and he's going to get this passed in the House and the Senate, might be able to offset the tactics and what's happening with tariffs. One poll that I saw over the weekend, I think it was the New York Siena poll, said that Americans are afraid. That is, they were scared of what Trump was doing because they didn't understand it. And, you know, sometimes I look at Trump's advisors. I'm not sure, Gabriella, they understand what they're doing exactly. Sometimes they just roll the dice and see what happens.
Fair enough. Dean of Global Futures at Curtin University, Professor Joe Siracusa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.